Morning, students. Dear students, today we are going to discuss about Unit 2. Objectives of Unit 2 are after reading this unit, student will be able to understand the concept and nature of Andragogy. You will be able to analyze the difference between pedagogy and andragogy. Also, you will be able to apply the different methods for teaching adults. In this unit, we are discussing about introductions of the unit second, andragogy, its nature and scope, basic difference between pedagogy and andragogy, agencies and organizations as for local, state, central level, and their problems. Adult learner and their characteristics, their problems and motivations. Adult teaching, that is, different methods of teaching and role of mass media. Further, role of mass media in adult teaching. Introductions of this unit. In this unit, explores adult education, highlighting the nature and scope of andragogy compared to pedagogy. Andragogy, focusing on adults, emphasizes self-directed learning, practical application, and leveraging life experiences, while pedagogy aimed at children involves a teacher's directed approach. Various agencies and organizations at local, state, and central levels are essential in promoting adult education, but face challenges such as limited funding, accessibility issues, and coordination difficulties. Adult learners are characterized by their need for relevant and practical learning, balancing multiple responsibilities and intrinsic motivation for personal and professional growth. Effective adult teaching methods include experiential learning, collaborative projects, and flexible online platforms, with mass media playing a vital role in providing accessible educational content through television, radio, and digital media. Understanding these distinctions and addressing the unique needs of adult learners are crucial for fostering effective adult education. Then, तो इसे हम सबसे पहले समझने के लिए पेडागोजी के बारे में समझेंगे कि व्हाट इज पेडागोजी, मीनिंग ऑफ पेडागोजी, व्हाट इज पेडागोगिकल अप्रोच, importance of pedagogy in teaching, types of pedagogy, how does pedagogy impact the learner. Then we are discussing about the pedagogical analysis. What is pedagogical analysis? Components and operation involved in the task of pedagogical analysis. Steps of pedagogical analysis. Then after that, uh, we are discussing about andragogy, its nature, scope, and then difference between pedagogy and andragogy. Thus, dear students, we are discussing about the concept of pedagogy. The pedagogy word is derived from the Greek word pedagogos, in which pedos means child and egos means leader. So, it literally means to lead the child. In modern context, pedagogy used to refer to instruction, learning, and the actual operation involved therein, and it is not only related to the child instructions Rather, it suggests science of teaching. According to Oxford Dictionary in 1571, pedagogy is the term that describes the relationship and interactions between teachers, students, and the learning environment and the learning tasks. Pedagogy combines the teaching with culture, structures, and mechanisms within a social environment. Pedagogy is not, therefore, simply describing the activity of teaching, but reflects the productions of broader social and cultural values within the learning relationship. Then, what is pedagogy? Yeah, that means meaning of pedagogy. Pedagogy may be defined as, according to Logran 2008, defines pedagogy in teacher education as knowledge of teaching about teaching and knowledge of learning about teaching and how the two influence one another in the pedagogic episodes that teacher educators create to offer students of teaching experiences that might inform their developing view of practice. Pedagogy has described as the act and discourse of teaching according to Alexander 2004. Pedagogy can be defined as the understanding of how learning takes place and the philosophy and practice that supports the understanding of learning. Pedagogy is concept that is related with child learning. Pedagogy is the study of teaching activity and it is conveyed in a manner that will lead to better learning in students. Pedagogy is the exploration of effective teaching and learning strategy. Pedagogy involves being able to convey knowledge and skills in ways that students can understand, remember, and apply. What is the pedagogical approach? First one is constructivist approach. It is based on active participation of students in teaching learning process for understanding and gaining knowledge rather than just passively receiving information. It accelerates the critical thinking in which they can connect with what they are perceiving. Second one is collaborative. It is based on teaching and learning in a group so that they learn together and work to solve in terms of group activity, make strategies, ideas, create products, or complete a task. It is a joint venture to carry out a problem in an educational setup. Integrative. It includes teaching with the following objectives. First one is understanding learning. Second one is differentiating any topic from the other viewpoints. Third one is pragmatic relations. And fourth one is associating the concepts. Reflective. It is based on self reflections. The students are expected to have a self evaluation. Next, inquiry based learning. It aims to take the students from the position of wondering about a question to understanding the answer and then questioning it further. Importance of pedagogy in teaching. It improves quality of teaching. It encourages cooperative learning environment, eliminates monotonous learning. It accelerates learning among the students, such as analyzing, creative thinking, and evaluation. Further, It makes students more receptive to what the teacher is teaching. Student can follow their ways of learning. It caters to the learning abilities of different students. Convenient learning approach for all. Inclusion of differently able learners. It improves teacher-student communication. The teacher understands the student in a better way, which helps them to focus on the student's weakness and guide them. Types of pedagogy are: first one is social pedagogy. It is based on the concept for development of social awareness and well-being of the students. The teaching must consist of social parameters. Actually, it is vision for the society. Second one is critical pedagogy. It is based on critical understanding and thoughts or beliefs on a certain topic. Third one is culturally responsive pedagogy. It encourages multiculturalism existing among the students and increases awareness about cultural differences in school. And fourth one is Socratic pedagogy. It is based on knowledge from the other source along with what it is generally available within the institution. How does pedagogy impact the learner? First, student-centered approach. Pedagogy is a student-centered approach in which the students take responsibility for learning in their ways. Second one is continuous assessment of students. Teachers evaluate the student regularly to see if they are improving and moving towards their target outcomes. Third one is encourages teamwork. The study methods encourages teamwork and group projects for the students to meet like-minded individuals and work with them. Develop cognitive skills. Help students to develop cognitive skills using evaluation, detailed analysis, comprehensions, and application of the course. Pedagogical analysis. Pedagogy is the art and science of teaching. Effective teachers use an array of teaching strategy because there is no single universal approach that suits all situations. The term pedagogical analysis is made up of two words, pedagogy and analysis. So it is a type of analysis based on pedagogy. What is pedagogical analysis? Pedagogical analysis may be defined as the way of effectiveness of teaching by analyzing content structure of a topic followed by a teaching methodology. There are different interpretations on the steps in pedagogical analysis of a teaching content. The famous pedagogic steps by Harvard are known as Harvardian steps, commonly used as lesson plan. These five steps include: first one is preparation, second one is presentation, third one is association, fourth one is generalization, and fifth one is application. Component and operation involved in the task of pedagogical analysis. Pedagogical analysis of the subject being taught to a particular class of the following operations to be performed. First one is content analysis. One of the most important tasks for pedagogical analysis, where unit, topic, single concept being taught by the teacher in the subject is getting structured in terms of contents to explore the content itself and simultaneously. It provides content weightage to make the lesson plan in a proper way. Second one is instructional objectives. Objectives for teaching and learning to be decided in specific behavioral terms. Instructional objectives giving directions, the process of teaching for fulfillment of the lessons of a particular class. Third one is methodology of teaching, methods, techniques, teaching learning activities for the teaching learning of a particular topic to be determined by the teacher with the help of intended objectives of the lessons to be implemented. Evaluation system evaluating the outcomes of the teaching learning process carried out for the teaching to be determined. The following cyclic model may be suggested for executing any pedagogical source, that is object formulations, then selection of teaching methods, then selection of evaluation devices, and then content analysis. That is called pedagogical analysis of content. In this way, when a teacher is asked to perform pedagogical analysis of the contents of a subject, unit, or topic to be taught in the class, he has to go through the cycle, mention four components as for first one is content analysis, then objective formulations, then selection of the teaching method and material, and selection of the evaluation devices. Steps of pedagogical analysis. Step first, contents of a unit to be divided into appropriate subunits and arrange the selected subunits into a number of required credit hours. Step second, summarize each content of the selected subunit. Step 3, connect previous knowledge required for the subunit. Step 4, instructional objectives to be selected for each subunit. Step 5, teaching strategy to be implemented with the following components. First one is teaching methods to be selected. Second one is teaching aids along with the other supporting materials to be prepared. Third, methods to be elaborated properly. Fourth, write probing questions and provide appropriate answers for them. And fifth, worksheet for the subunit to be prepared. Step 6, insert suitable examples, illustration, analogies for the subunit. Step 7, prepare a table of specification for the subunit. Step 8, write criterion reference test items, each with specific criteria for the subunit. Need of pedagogical analysis. Pedagogical analysis is a key to effective teaching and to make a proper understanding towards contents and its effective presentations. It opens the way of structuring and restructuring of content material in a classroom situation. Following are some of the basic points to be under considerations, giving a highlight of the topic collected from the uh, internet, specially. Pedagogical analysis is inevitable for selecting appropriate objectives and strategies in various instructional situations to implement the teaching successfully. It facilitates effective teaching. It is related to several logical steps. It provides the students to understand the concepts and underlying principles. It helps the teacher to implement the evaluation procedure. It helps the teacher to design a plan of action for immediate feedback, diagnosis, and remediation. It makes the instructional programs more systematic and content appropriate. It reveals the place of subjects in all educational process. It an insight to the teacher to plan his teaching. It distinguishes the objectives of teaching subjects at different levels and in different medium from each other. Through it, a teacher also come to know about the different objectives to be achieved by teaching different content in a classroom. It is a tool to achieve the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor development of a student. Importance of pedagogical analysis in teaching. It improves quality of learning. It is students more receptive during learning sessions. It improves students' participations. Knowledge imparted effectively across a spectrum of learners. In development of higher cognitive skills in students. It helps the place of any unit of the textbook in the structure of the subjects. It creates the attitude in the teacher trainee for deciding the training strategies according to the different levels of the students. Objectives of pedagogical analysis. It accelerates effectiveness of teaching actively. Two is output based and to be realized in terms of expected behavioral outcomes. Understand to your own teaching style and integrate it with learning style. Plan activities that promote higher order thinking skills. Identify the unique challenges teaching online presents with regard to time management and working with students virtually. To analyze the curricular content into meaningful content. To anticipate comprehensive instructional objectives for each components. To design appropriate objective-based learning experiences for different stages and contents. To anticipate a strategy for continuous and comprehensive evaluation. Application of pedagogical analysis. It's systematic plan for the teacher to implement teaching strategy. Unit and sub-unit wise time planning for implementation. And third one is scientific approach for hierarchical taxonomy of educational objectives. Fourth one is preparation of a stepwise strategy for teaching. Fifth one is scientific method of evaluation. Merits of pedagogical analysis. It encourages metacognition and therefore will develop learner skills or build learning power. Increased independence of students. On task behavior and the quality of work improves as students take each task. It improves decision making in real world, complex, real time problem spaces. It prompts students to engage in information analysis. It prompts students to engage in information search. Limitation of pedagogical analysis. Pre-assumptions by making a lesson plan or pedagogical analysis always may not suit the classroom learning situation. Second one is previous learning outcomes as assumed earlier may not match with the present level of knowledge of the students in the classroom. And third one is the format may appear to give a systematic pictures of the lesson. Teacher is confined within a hard rigid format of planning so that flexibility is absent. Teacher should enjoy freedom to divide subunits according to number of periods and there should not be any hard and fast rule for this. There cannot be single criteria for this because Teacher's plan is bound to change depending on the standards of pupils in different schools. Lesson planning is of different types and teachers follow predominantly any one teaching style out of many. It becomes highly confusing for a reflective teacher to follow and definite lesson plan for every class, for every subject throughout the year. Now, we are discussing about the concept of andragogy, its nature, its scope, differences between pedagogy and andragogy. The term andragogy was coined in 1833 by Alexander Keck, a German grammar school teacher, to describe the educational philosophy behind adult learner and to differentiate it from the art and science of teaching children, which is familiar to most people as pedagogy. Nottingham Andragogy Group 19 Andragogy was developed into a theory of adult education by Eugen Rosenstock Hussey. It later became very popular in the US by the American educator Malcolm Knowles. Knowles asserted that andragogy, Greek means man leading, should be distinguished from the more commonly used term pedagogy, Greek name child leading. That means pedagogy means child leading and andragogy means man leading. Then, what is the meaning of andragogy? The word andragogy derives from the Greek word means adult leading. Andragogy refers to a theory of adult learning that details some of the ways in which adult learn differently than the children. For example, adults tend to be more self-directed, internally motivated, and ready to learn. Teachers can draw on concepts of andragogy to increase the effectiveness of their adult education. That is, the art of teaching for adults, the science of teaching for adults, the profession of teaching for adults, adult educational practices, specific teaching methods for adults. Andragogy refers to methods, principles of andragogy by Malcolm Knowles. According to Malcolm Knowles, there are six fundamental principles of andragogy. First one is adults need to know their purpose of learning. Second one is development on experiences. Third one is to feel the responsible for their learning. Fourth one is readiness for learning. And fifth one is problem solving. And sixth one is adult learning in a better way. Why way when they have intrinsic motivation. The six fundamental principles of andragogy are first one is need based learning. Adults must understand why they are being asked to learn. One method to accomplish this is through communicating learners about their aim and objectives towards learning. Inform them in advance of why they should pay attention and how it will benefit them individually. Second one is experience. Adult students possess experience. This experience should serve as the foundation for the majority of learning activities. Your duty is to relate their prior knowledge to new material. Third one is self-concept. Adults must be accountable for their educational choices. They thrive on independence by providing some control over their learning. You can satisfy their demand for autonomy. Online training is a valuable instrument for achieving this control. Preparedness. Adults learn most effectively when the instruction helps them solve an immediate real world issue. Adults are more motivated to study when there is an urgent purpose to do so. Fifth one is problem orientation. Adult preparedness. Adults learn most effectively when the instruction helps them solve an immediate real world issue. Problem orientation. Adults learn most effectively when content is problem based. They prefer to acquire problem solving specific knowledge, skills, and or abilities over generic content. Adults are significantly more likely to learn when they perceive that the instructions will benefit them immediately. To inspire them, assist them in identifying the issue the training would address. This will allow them to concentrate on studying as much as possible. And sixth one is intrinsic motivation. People learn best when their drive comes from within rather than from beyond. Yet, this does not imply that adults cannot be externally driven. They can be. The most effective technique to encourage students is to identify their intrinsic motivation. These intrinsic motivation include the knowledge that a task improves their sense of the self-worth or efforts, them greater prospects for professional advancement. These types of motivators are more effective over the long run. Competencies of self-directed learning. What it is actually. Self-directed competencies based training requires learners to be accountable for their own education. A learner and the learning supervisor examine the gaps in the student's skill set together. Together, they determine the optimal strategies for bridging this gap based on the learner's objectives and learner preferences, which may be characterized by the following perspectives. First one is competency map. To create a competency map that identifies the general areas of competency and specific skills, knowledge, abilities, and behaviors needed to operate well in a particular occupation. Second one is learning model. We create training models based on the individual skills outlined in the competency map. These models provide information on learning objectives, suggested learning activities, and further learning resources. Third one is learning plan. His student evaluates the learning modules that address his or her ability deficiencies as part of the learning plan. In partnership with a learning supervisor, the learner uses the proposed learning activities to develop a learning plan that meets the module's learning objectives. The learner completes the learning plan and a performance evaluation rating, which is then reviewed by the learning supervisor. The learner, under the supervision of learning supervisor, completes the modules that address his or her skill outcome based approach. As students go through the program material, They hone their capacity to study new material in the future. Self-directed learning is an integral component of competency-based training and as such is advantageous for both the institution and the individual. And four-step method for self-directed learning. Independent study can be difficult even for the most intelligent and determined peoples. As a means of gaining a better understanding of the process involved in this module of study, this teaching tip describes the four key stages of independent learning, also known as self-directed learning. Being prepared to learn, establishing learning objectives, engaging in the learning process, and evaluating learning. Step 1. Evaluate learning readiness. For successful independent study, students require a variety of abilities and attitudes towards learning. This step requires students to evaluate their current environment, study habits, family status, and support network at school and at home, as well as their prior experiences with independent learning. Read our Ready to Learn teaching tip for a through learning skills assessment instrument. Being independent, organized, self disciplined, able to communicate effectively, accepting constructive feedback, and engaging in self evaluation and self reflections are indicators of preparation for self directed learning. Step 2. Establish learning objectives. Communication between a student and their advisor regarding learning objectives is crucial. Our unit planning decision guide consists of a series of questions for students to consider as they map out their learning objectives. Learning contrasts are also essential for building a clear understanding of learning objectives between students and teachers. First one is goals for the unit of study. Second one is structure and sequence of activities. Third one is timeline for completion of activities. Fourth one is details regarding resource material for each goals. Next, details regarding grading procedures. Next, feedback and evaluation as each goal is completed. Next, meeting plan with the advising instructor. Next, agreement of unit policies such as a policy on late assignments. Once contracts are drafted, the advising faculty members should evaluate them and pose concerns about their viability. Examples. What could go wrong? Is there an excessive amount of work? Are the evaluation schedule and criteria reasonable? Step 3. Participate in the educational procedure. Students must comprehend themselves as learners in order to comprehend their needs as self-directed learners. Directing them to our resource on learning preferences may be useful. Also, students might consider responding to the following questions. That is, first one is, what are my instructional and methods requirements? Second, who was my favorite instructor and why? Third, what did they do differently than other educators? Throughout their program, students should reflect on these questions. Pupils must also comprehend their method to study by the following steps. First, a deep approach. Second, a surface approach. And third, a strategic approach. A deep approach, it involves transformation and is excellent for independent study. This strategy emphasizes personal comprehension of concepts, application of knowledge to new contexts, the use of novel examples to demonstrate a concept, and the acquisition of knowledge beyond what is required for unit completion. A surface approach. It incorporates reproduction of what is necessary to successfully complete a unit and a tendency to regurgitate examples and explanations from readings. A strategic approach. It entails organization by attaining the greatest possible grades, understanding what is required to pass tests, memorizing facts, and practicing with previous exams. Step 4. Evaluate learning. Students must be able to engage in self-reflections and self-evaluation of their learning goals and progress in a unit study in order to be successful with self-directed learning. To help the self-evaluation process, they should consult with the advising instructor on a regular basis, seek feedback, and reflect on their accomplishments by asking, how do I know I have learned? Am I adaptable in my application of knowledge? Are I confident in my ability to explain material? When will I have learned enough? When should students engage in self-reflection and when should they consult with their faculty advisor? Accountabilities within the four-step procedure. Students and faculty advisors must share specific obligations or roles for independent study to be successful. This is a list of the most significant roles. It is beneficial for both student and faculty advisors to periodically check this list and discuss whether they believe the other party is meeting their responsibilities. Students' roles. Self-assess your readiness to learn. Define your learning goals and develop a learning contract. Monitor your learning process. Take initiative for all stages of the learning process. Be self-motivated. Re-evaluate and alter goals as required during your unit of study. Consult with your advising instructor as required. Advising instructors rule. Build a cooperative learning environment. Help to motivate and direct the students' learning experience. Facilitate students' initiative for learning. Be available for consultation as appropriate during the learning progress. Serve as an advisor rather than a formal instructor. Now, I think हम लोग बेसिक कंसेप्ट्स ऑफ पेडागॉजी एंड एंड्रागॉजी इसके बारे में समझ गए होंगे। पेडागॉजी क्या है, पेडागॉजी कैसे यूज करते हैं, पेडागॉजिकल एनालिसिस क्या है, एंड्रागॉजी क्या है, एंड्रागॉजी कैसे यूज किए जाते हैं, उसके स्टेप्स क्या है, इसके कंपोनेंट्स क्या है, फैक्टर्स अफेक्टिंग एंड्रागॉजी एंड सो ऑन। एंड्रागॉजी में टीचर्स का क्या रोल है, स्टूडेंट्स का क्या रोल है, इन सब के बारे में हमने डिटेल से डिस्कस किया है और इन सबको हम लगभग समझ चुके होंगे। तो अब आगे हम ये डिस्कस करते हैं कि पेडागॉजी और एंड्रागॉजी में क्या डिफरेंस है। दैट मीन्स कि बेसिक डिफरेंस बिटवीन पेडागॉजी एंड एंड्रागॉजी। पेडागॉजी एंड एंड्रागॉजी रिप्रेजेंट टू डिस्टिंक्ट अप्रोच टू टीचिंग एंड लर्निंग, each tailored to different age groups and learning needs. Here is a detailed comparison of the here it is a detailed comparison of the basic difference between pedagogy and andragogy. According to definition, pedagogy, the art and science of teaching children. The term comes from the Greek words paid meaning child and yogos meaning leading. That means leading to the child. यानी कि पेडागोगी से यह मतलब है कि बच्चों को जब पढ़ाने की हम बात करते हैं तो वो पेडागोगी होता है। यह एक आर्ट है, कला है और एक तरीके से विज्ञान है। शिक्षण की कला एवं विज्ञान विधि यानी कि बच्चों को पढ़ाने की एक कला के रूप में हम पेडागोगी को जानते हैं। Whereas andragogy, the art and science of helping adults learners. The term comes from the Greek words andra, meaning adults, and agogos, meaning leading. That means man leading. यानी कि हम एडल्ट को जब हम पढ़ाने की बात करते हैं तो उसे हम एंड्रागोगी कहते हैं। तो एंड्रागोगी को यदि हम देखें तो एंड्रागोगी का यह मतलब है कि एडल्ट को यानी कि वयस्क को पढ़ाने की जो कला है और यह एक विज्ञान है, इसे हम कला और विज्ञान के रूप में देखते हैं। टीचर्स रोल, पेडागोगी में टीचर्स का क्या रोल है? तो इट इज सेंट्रल एंड डायरेक्टिव, क्योंकि जो पेडागोगी होता है ये टीचर सेंट्रिक अप्रोच पे काम करता है। द टीचर इज द प्राइमरी सोर्स ऑफ नॉलेज एंड अथॉरिटी, क्योंकि इसमें जो नॉलेज के लिए कि टीचर ही सब कुछ जानता है और टीचर बच्चों को समझाता है और उसे ही हर ज्ञान के बारे में, हर ज्ञान के नॉलेज के बारे में बताता है। Whereas in andragogy, teacher is a facilitator or guide. The teacher supports and assists learners in their learning process. इसमें जो टीचर्स की भूमिका है वह कुछ इस प्रकार से है कि एडल्ट को वह लर्न करने के लिए असिस्ट करते हैं, गाइड करते हैं, उन्हें डिफरेंट रिसोर्सेज, लर्निंग मटेरियल्स एंड इन सब चीजों से वो अवेयर कराते हैं और इसके बिहाफ पर, क्योंकि इसमें लर्नर्स खुद सीखता है और इसमें जो लर्नर्स होते हैं वो एक्टिवली इन्वॉल्व होते हैं और यह लर्नर सेंट्रिक अप्रोच कहलाता है, स्टूडेंट सेंट्रिक अप्रोच कहलाता है। लर्नर्स रोल in pedagogy, dependent on the teacher for the guidance and instructions, learners are often passive recipients of the information. पेडागोगी में लर्नर्स पैसिव के रूप में यानी कि सक्रिय भूमिका में न होकर के वो एक पैसिव लिसनर के तरीके से सुनते हैं और जो भी इंफॉर्मेशन और गाइडेंस टीचर्स के द्वारा दी जाती है उससे वो एज इट इज ग्रहण करते हैं। Whereas एंड्रागोगी में सेल्फ डायरेक्टेड एंड रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर देयर ऑन लर्निंग, वे सेल्फ मोटिवेटेड होते हैं, उन्हें क्या करना है लर्नर्स को पता होता है और लर्नर्स ही अपने उस लर्निंग के लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबल होते हैं। लर्नर्स आर एक्टिव पार्टिसिपेशन एंड कोलैबोरेटर्स, इसमें टीचर्स पैसिव होते हैं, पैसिव रूप में होते हैं और लर्नर्स एक्टिव रूप में होते हैं। तो इसमें लर्नर्स जो होते हैं एक्टिव पार्टिसिपेंट्स के रूप में होते हैं। लर्निंग मोटिवेशंस, पेडागोगी में ऑफन प्रायर एक्सट्रिंसिक मोटिवेशन दिया जाता है क्योंकि इसमें टीचर्स के द्वारा या पेरेंट्स के द्वारा उसको मोटिवेट किया जाता है, सच एज ग्रेड्स, रिवार्ड्स एंड अप्रूवल फ्रॉम अथॉरिटी फिगर्स, कि इस तरीके से उसे एक्सटर्नल रिवार्ड्स दे करके लर्नर्स को हम मोटिवेट करते हैं ताकि वो पढ़े। एक टीचर के द्वारा जैसे मार्क्स का, ग्रेडिंग का, गुड, एक्सीलेंट, इस तरीके से रिवार्ड दिए जाते हैं ताकि जो लर्नर है वो मोटिवेट होकर के लर्निंग करे। Whereas एंड्रागोजी में वो सेल्फ मोटिवेटेड होते हैं। इसमें प्राइमरी इंट्रिंसिक मोटिवेशन होता है कि प्राइमरली इंट्रिंसिक ड्राइवन बाय पर्सनल एंड प्रोफेशनल गोल्स, सेल्फ इंप्रूवमेंट एंड द प्रैक्टिकल एप्लीकेशन ऑफ नॉलेज, और वो जो नॉलेज गेन करते हैं लर्नर उसके प्रैक्टिकल एप्लीकेशंस को वो देखते हैं कि कहाँ हम इसे यूज करें। लर्नर ओरिएंटेशन, पेडागोगी में सब्जेक्ट सेंटर्ड अप्रोच को फॉलो किया जाता है, फोकसिंग ऑन अ स्टैंडर्डाइज्ड करिकुलम डिटरमाइंड बाय एजुकेशनल अथॉरिटीज। जो एजुकेशनल अथॉरिटीज के द्वारा दिए जाते हैं, करिकुलम बनाए जाते हैं, फ्रेम किए जाते हैं, उससे ही इम्प्लीमेंट किया जाता है। वेयर एज एंड्रागोगी में यह प्रॉब्लम सेंटर्ड अप्रोच को फॉलो करते हैं, फोकसिंग ऑन लर्निंग एक्टिविटीज दैट आर इमीडिएटली रेलिवेंट एंड एप्लीकेबल टू द लर्नर्स वर्क और पर्सनल लाइफ। कि उन लर्नर्स के पर्सनल लाइफ में उस वर्क का क्या इंपॉर्टेंस है, उसके अकॉर्डिंग प्रॉब्लम्स दिए जाते हैं। आइडेंटिफिकेशंस ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम, यानी कि प्रॉब्लम्स का चयन किया जाता है एंड देन फाइंड आउट द सॉल्यूशन, और सॉल्यूशंस निकाले जाते हैं। इसलिए इसे हम प्रॉब्लम सेंटर्ड अप्रोच के नाम से भी जानते हैं। Experience, limited life experience among learners, which is often not utilized as a learning resources, whereas andragogy में rich in life experiences, which are used as a critical resources in the learning process. पेडागोगी में देखा जाए, एक्सपीरियंस की बात की जाए, तो जो वो लर्न करते हैं, चूंकि वो सब्जेक्ट सेंटर्ड अप्रोच होते हैं, उसे अपने रियल लाइफ में कैसे यूज करना है, इसके बारे में वो बच्चे समझ नहीं पाते। वेयर एज जब हम एंड्रागोगी में की हम बात करते हैं, तो जो सीखते हैं वो रियल लाइफ सिचुएशंस के अकॉर्डिंग ही सीखते हैं। इसलिए वो अपने रियल लाइफ में वो जो अर्न सीखते हैं, उसे वो आसानी से अपने रियल लाइफ में यूज कर पाते हैं। Key aspects of andragogical practices: assessments of needs, understanding the specific needs, goals, and backgrounds of the adult learners to tailor the learning experiences. Flexibility, it adapting teaching methods and materials to accommodate diverse learning styles and schedules of adult learners. Collaboration, creating a learning environment where learners can share their experience and insight, contributing to a richer learning experiences for all participants. Relevance, ensuring that learning materials and activities are relevant to the learner's personal and professional lives. Practicality, it emphasizing the practical application of knowledge, allowing learners to see the immediate benefits of their education. इस प्रकार से हमने पेडागोगी क्या है एंड एंड्रागोगी क्या है, उसके डिफरेंट एस्पेक्ट्स को, डिफरेंट डायमेंशंस को, उसके बीच डिफरेंस क्या है, इन सबको हमने देखा। सो thus we can conclude that andragogy provides a framework for understanding and improving adult learning by recognizing the unique characteristics and need of adult learners, while pedagogy and andragogy share the common goal of facilitating learning. Their approaches differ significantly. Pedagogy is more directive and teacher-centered, focusing on the education of the children, where andragogy is learner-centered and focuses on the self-directed, experiential, and problem-solving nature of adult education. Recognizing and applying the principles of andragogy can enhance the effectiveness of education programs for adults, leading to more meaningful and impactful learning experiences. इस प्रकार से हमने ये देखा कि पेडागोगी क्या है, पेडागोगी का यूज कैसे हम करते हैं, डिफरेंट डिफरेंट जो मेथड्स है, टेक्निक्स है, उसका हम कैसे यूज करते हैं, पेडागोगिकल एनालिसिस कैसे एक टीचर करते हैं, पेडागोगिकल एनालिसिस करने के लिए कौन कौन से स्टेप्स का यूज करते हैं। वैसे ही एंड्रागोगी क्या है, एंड्रागोगी में टीचर का क्या रोल होता है, लर्नर का क्या रोल होता है, लर्नर्स उस एंड्रागोगी के माध्यम से जो सीखते हैं उसको रियल लाइफ एक्सपीरियंस में कैसे यूज करते हैं। देन पेडागोगी एंड एंड्रागोगी में क्या डिफरेंस है, इन्हें हमने देखा। तो इस प्रकार से हम पेडागोगी एंड एंड्रागोगी में डिफरेंस एंड उसके बेसिक कंसेप्ट्स को समझ लिए होंगे।